Hello, it's a dark episode for January the 23rd, 2023. And, yes, well, okay. The main thing I wanted to do today, which was call the auto shop and get the car booked in for the window, because that's the thing that was worrying me. I got that done. That is super excellent on my part. There was a time when the more stress I felt about something, the less likely I was to kind of address it and do it, and it would just build it up and build it up and build it up, and I'd just be really miserable, and whatever the problem was wouldn't get addressed and would quite potentially get worse because of it. So, personal growth. Got it booked in for Thursday. That's great, and we'll jump off the bridge of however much it costs to get fixed. When we get there, it'll get worked out. One way or the other, it does. We muddle our way through this shit. Had a tough thing with Ja and her continuing battle with her doctor. I'm not going to go into that, just to say it's really shitty, and it really puts a whole ton of strain under Janine and Ja, and it's really hard to watch, and it's one of those things of she's feeling shitty because she feels like she can't do very much about the situation either. He's a doink. He is a fucking doink. And I've sounded off about him before. One piece of paper needs to go to ICBC and we can be done with him. And he can be done with us. It's a win-win. So we'll see how that goes. And I mean, this isn't about me. Feels like it's about me because I'm supporting Ja, but it's not about me, it's about Ja, and yeah, that would be really good. Other than that, walk the dogs, finished the rise, not finished, I got finished this section of The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich by William L. Shire. Nothing particularly to add to what I have already said about it. It's a really fascinating book. I have decided to put down that super big book and pick up the A Distant Mirror, the Calamitous 14th Century by Barbara Tuchman, a 1978 history book. So still a geezily old history book I'm reading, but this one is a little bit more recent, but also going far back in history, or pretty far. I decided I would do this because this is a book that Steve Donahue is going to do a read along about, but it's like I've been reading a lot about reading a lot of chivalric tales, poems, the most recent at the moment being Orlando Furioso, which, it's not necessarily of this time period. I have to actually check and see what time period, but it's a lot about kind of chivalric tales, which, it's fiction, but it is reflecting a certain kind of way that nobles organized themselves, of this idea of they had the duty of protecting the realm and the Christian faith and all that. And there was the ideal, and then there was the reality, which seems to be a lot of really violent guys battling each other. And the best way to battle each other was to slaughter each other's peasants, and thus decimate your opponent's source of wealth. So they're real fucking sweethearts. And there's, at the start of this book, Tuchman's thing, there's basically the one theory is that subconsciously they came up with the Crusades just to get these psychotic motherfuckers away from home and send them somewhere else, and oftentimes sort of depleting their resources, weakening them politically, and thus ushering in sort of political changes and more centralization of power away from this violent class of noble. Though it seems to be at the time basically if you're a noble, that means you live by the sword. That's the main part of being a noble. There's obviously your birth. You can stretch it all the way back to the beginning of time of being a nobleman on a horse being a very important part of being chevalier, or a knight. Knight is actually the only one where it isn't a man on a horse, but in every other language, it's basically means a man on the horse. So yeah, that's something I am enjoying, and starting it now because Steve will probably read the whole thing in 1 month, and I will probably still be reading it 2 or 3 months after that. But at least I'll have video guides that I can save and listen to as I go along, just to kind of keep me company. Steve, I've found in the past, is good at doing kind of a good, broad, breezy overview. He isn't going to deep dive too heavy into stuff, which is fine and probably a key to his success. He understands he's not there to drone on endlessly. That's, for specialists like me, to forego any entertainment to be a pedant and just, grind out little details that are only important to myself. So yeah, that was the day. Made some butter chicken, which I think I added a little bit of this red curry chili stuff that we've been using for shakshuka into it, and I think it actually is going to give it a nice, bit more intense flavor. Some of the last butter chickens I've made had been rather watery affairs. I actually also forego the fresh tomatoes because I think that just added so much liquid to it that I wasn't getting kind of that creamy curry taste to my butter chicken. So we'll see. Hopefully I didn't make it over rich. That would suck too. All right, this has been Cooking with Jay, and more videos later.